Today is part 2 of our study of the Mahasihanada Sutta, the greater discourse on the lion roar. M12, no? That is in SD 49.1. Now, when we see the word Sihanada, it's what's called a public declaration of faith, a kind of statement of truth, okay? Standing up for the Dharma. In this case, the Buddha is talking about what defines a Buddha, the qualities of a Buddha. Although the sutta talks about the Buddha, these are also qualities that we can cultivate to some extent. Okay, so this kind of teaching gives us what's called an overview, kind of a broad understanding of what are the abilities, the powers that the mind can bring. In early Buddhism, the teaching about the mind is very important. Okay, it's our mind that defines us. It's our mind. If we understand our mind, we will cut down suffering. We will become spiritually free. What does spiritually free means? Number one, it means you have no fear. Right? Most of us have all kinds of fear. Okay, some of us are even just afraid to get out of the house. Some of us are afraid of talking to people. So we have all kinds of fear depending on what we have been conditioned or what we have been through in our younger days. So this overcoming of fear is very important in Buddhist teachings. No? You'll find that there is a Buddha statue where the hand is up like this, right? The palm is shown towards the public. This is called the Abhaya Mudra. Abhaya means no fear, have no fear. Okay. This Abhaya means danger in Malay, local Malay. So be free from danger, so if you like. So Abhaya Mudra, it means have no fear. If you have done no wrong, no bad, no evil, then you have no fear. Okay. So you feel happy with your good karma. And spiritual liberation also means you are happy. There's a sense of peace and joy. Once you have a sense of peace and joy, it's very easy to do good. You don't feel like doing bad, even when other people do bad things, because you find it's not worth it. It's too costly. You go through so much trouble when you do something bad. Okay? So being happy is very important. Being happy keeps you on the right track, keeps you honest, keeps you see the worth in things. It makes you see your life, even if it is simple, you're very happy with it. You're satisfied with it. So this is where you can see, you go to any of the Buddhist countries, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, or any Buddhist community where people are really practicing Buddhism. You find the poor, simple people, they're very happy. You go to their house, first thing is they, of course, ask you to sit down, they offer you food, drinks, and so on. They make you stay for meals. This is typical Asian hospitality, if you like. Now, when we talk about Asian hospitality, we ask ourselves, where did it come from? The idea of hospitality is very important in Buddhism. It is one of the 4 trainings, all right? 4 kinds of respect for the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. You can also talk of 5 trainings. Then number 4 is respect for the training, okay, the Dharma training. And the last one is respect for hospitality. You have to welcome the guests. The guests are sacred, okay? But unfortunately, you find that sometimes the Westerners, especially some of these very oppressive religions, they know, they say, the Asians are very friendly, you go to their house, they welcome you. So use this to convert them to their religion. This is wrong, okay? So this is where we got to make adjustments. Because culture is not something dead. Culture, you can adjust. So if somebody abuses your culture, you have to stop it. So there is no hospitality for such a person because they are not guests. They have come as oppressors. They have come as uninvited people who come with ill will. Right? So that's the meaning here, in other words. So the idea of hospitality is very important in Buddhism in this sense. Whereas here, when we talk about we talk about Sihana, the lion roar, we're talking about saying, what you call, declaring the teachings of the Buddha that are important to us, that are the essence of the teaching, in other words. So this is the Buddha's answer to a challenge by one of his ex-pupils, if you like, someone who was a Buddhist before but then claimed that the Buddha don't have all these powers, is not really awakened, and so on. So the Buddha took this opportunity to correct all this wrong view by this person called Sunakata. Okay, and this is very important, because when someone says the Buddha doesn't have all these powers, the Buddha is not awakened, he has to reply that's not the case, right? So we have done up to the first part where the Buddha talks about the basic powers he has, the 3 powers. So now we go a little deeper, we look into the 10 powers. This is on your book, I think page 24, right? All right, can you see section 9? Right, the number 9. At the top there, the subtitle is the Buddha's 10 powers, right? Okay, the 10 powers. Now here Sariputta, so Buddha is talking to Sariputta. So there are these 10 Tathagata powers. Okay, Tathagata is simply the Buddha, right? The Tathagata, actually Tathagata is a very broad term, which is, I think is pre-Buddhist. Tatha plus Agata, one who has thus come, okay? He arises at the right time, okay? Sometimes Tathagata simply means a being, okay? So here, the Buddha just uses a simple word to refer to himself. But in the Buddhist text, whenever you see the word Tathagata, we feel, wow, this is sacred, because in Chinese, a special translation called Ru Lai, okay? So you can say 10 Tathagata powers, there's 10 Buddha powers, if you like, right? So here, the sutta says this 10 Tathagata powers, whoever have these powers, he can claim the place of the lordly bull herd leader. Okay, this is a very Indian cultural metaphor. To the Indians, the bull is regarded as a symbol of a leader. Because if you see a herd of bulls, you see there's one main bull, and this bull is very lordly, almost like a lion, And the cows are sacred to the Indians, not in the Buddhist time. In the Buddhist time, they are not sacred. In the Buddhist time, they are a symbol of wealth. If you have lots of cows, that means you are very rich. Singapore, the Singapore version of the cow would be how many flat rooms in your flats, okay? You measure a number of rooms in your flat, something like that. So the ancient India is the number of cows that you have, all right? So here, the sutta says, if you have the 10 powers, then you have taken the place of a lordly bull herd leader. You are the head of the community, in this case the Sangha, of course, or the head of the village, or the head of a group of people who are very learned, for example, all right? So in other words, a leader, very simply a leader. Roars the lion roar, okay? So here in India there are lions, but not in Singapore, although we name our country Lion City, Here the lion roar is a public statement of truth and faith to inspire others. And notice this is done before assemblies. It's not quietly done, it is to the audience, to the world, in other words. Later on, we will see who composed these assemblies, right? What is meant by the assemblies, later on we'll find out. It turns the perfect wheel, okay, the Brahma chakra. Brahma here can translate as perfect, you can translate as divine, okay? Here I've translated as perfect. I also put square brackets divine, that means that's an alternate translation. Or you can read it as perfect divine will, that's fine in English, because it gives you both the meaning there. So this is called amplified translation, square brackets. Let me see, I think it's alternate, this is alternate translation. So you can choose either perfect or divine. But the system is quite flexible. You can also take it as what's called amplified translation. If it is amplified, normally it will be round brackets, okay? Amplified, that means the word explains the previous word, okay? Or it is, you read it together to give it the full meaning. This is one of the problems of translation. You cannot get word for word, I mean, you just try. Occasionally, just for fun, we get Chinese messages from our relatives in Malaysia. Then we would use Google Translate. Have you tried that before? Now you get really very funny English, You can publish a book on that to make people laugh, Right? So that's the thing. You cannot translate word for word, It'll be very funny. Totally, it doesn't make sense at all right? Yeah, so this is where you have to translate the meaning. One Pali word can have lots of meaning in English. So this is one of those situations. Brahma can mean perfect, can mean divine, okay? So this is the perfect wheel. That is what you call the Four Noble Truths in the wheel, as well as the Eightfold Path as the wheel. Basically, it means the teaching. Okay? So the teaching of the Buddha is sometimes represented as a wheel, sometimes as a path. As you know, the wheel goes on the path also. All right? So here, the sutta is saying that this Tathagata, the Buddha who has these 10 powers, he also teaches the complete good teaching. And then, so he turns the perfect wheel, that means he teaches the Dharma to the world. That has lasted up to today. Okay? In fact, Buddhism is very interesting. You don't have to really go out and teach it, People look for it. When you discover it, you find, wow, this is really a wonderful teaching. You can study by yourself. Except the meditation, you have to really learn the proper method. You got to meet a proper teacher, a good teacher, to teach you. All right. Otherwise, a theory you can learn by yourself. All right. So here, what is the first power? Section 10. Here, Sariputta, the Tathagata, the Buddha, understands as it really is. As it really is. That means according to reality, not in the wrong way. What is possible to be possible and what is impossible to be impossible. So here the Buddha knows what makes sense and what is nonsense. And because sometimes you listen to some religious teachers, they really talk nonsense. For example, some will tell you, oh, you burn so many joss sticks every day, then you go to heaven. Wow, that means the joss stick makers will be guaranteed to go to heaven, right? So it doesn't make sense, And then some people think that by outward expression, you are holy. Wow, that means bad people also can pretend, and you think they're holy, right? So it doesn't mean everyone you see on the roadside wearing a robe is a good person. Very likely is not a good person, because a good monk will not be walking along the road that way. They'll be in a temple, or they have what is called a kapiya. A kapiya, that means there'll be a layman attendant going with them. So they don't go by themselves. They certainly won't go to shopping centers, cinemas, resort world, You see those kind of people, you better go away. I always look away. so that I'm happy, you know. Because you look at them, you don't feel happy. Because especially when you know the Dharma, you know these people are false. So be very careful. The religion is now going through a big challenge, you know. You got this new capitalist world growing, right? Singapore has become very rich. And you got these religious people also want to become rich, you know. So do not encourage, then you have a lot of problems. The good monks, they stay in the forest, they got their own small little huts, and you go there to learn meditation. That is what the Buddha taught. And these monks and nuns who live like that are very happy, and they're good people, okay? So this is something we must know, very important. Who are the good ones and who are the false ones? So do not support the false teachers. So what the Buddha is saying, certain things are not possible, right? Because sometimes someone will tell you, oh, you know, I look at you, I see, oh, your face is very good, you have good fortune, you know. That is a prelude to conning you. Be very careful. Especially in China, you know, there are these monks, they wait at the hotel lobby, they see if you're a rich guy, they come up to you and say, oh, I see your face is very bright, and so on, you know. So I have a friend, he's quite clever, and so he said, yes, I know. So I don't need your help. So that's a very good answer, all right? So these people are they're giving Buddhism a bad name, so don't support them. Remember, Buddhism is always self-reliance. You practice yourself, and then you help people, okay? Not to cheat them. Okay, so what is possible, what is not possible, okay? It is not possible for you to save people. People have to save themselves, okay? It's not possible just because you have a nice face means you go to heaven. Not possible, all right? You must have a pure heart, right? So these are the meaning of possibility and impossibility. The Buddha knows all these things. For example, some religion will tell you, oh, you follow me, you will have eternal life. You can live forever. I think the good answer here said, no, thank you. I'm going to suffer eternally. Because to live means to suffer. Because they don't understand the meaning of life, you see. So to live means to die. You cannot live without dying. Right? Because life is like that. So the Buddha has discovered a way which is beyond birth and death. And this is very deep. Right? So this way, when you meditate, you look at yourself in deep peace, then you understand there is this middle way which is beyond birth and death. Okay? Now, number 2, that is section 11. Furthermore, Sariputta, the Tathagata, understands, according to true reality, the results of karma undertaken, past, present, and future, according to their causes and possibilities. Okay, karma is very complicated. It doesn't mean you do A, you get A1. It's not like that, you know. It doesn't mean you kill 10 cockroaches, you'll be reborn as a cockroach 10 times. It's not like that. To put it, just to give you an example, if you kill one cockroach, when the conditions are right, any time you'll be reborn as a cockroach, many times. Okay, that's one possibility. Another example, sometimes you see bad people pretend to be good, but they're bad, right? And people think they're good, but they're bad. So, but their karma will be bad. But you don't see the result. You see bad people, they're not suffering. They seem to be enjoying life, you know. That's what we see now. But you wait till the time when they die. They'll suffer when they die. Next life, they will suffer. Okay? So, sometimes bad people seem to prosper. Sometimes good people seem to suffer. They appear to suffer only, but not the case. No? On the other hand, if you do something good, you do one good thing. For example, there's a story about this poor lady put just a bit of oil in a lamp for the Buddha. But then that small gesture brought her great blessings. Right? So all this is very hard to say. We're talking about conditions. When you do something good, there is a sense of happiness in your mind. And that happiness can lead to more happiness and a bigger happiness, bigger happiness. We call it snowballing. Okay? So that's how actions work. It's like investing money. Okay? There's a very beautiful story about investment by the Buddha in the Jataka stories. There was this young man, very poor young man, but he's a very good listener, he's very intelligent. So he listened to all these merchants talking, and then he learned how to, well, it's about investment and all this. So the story went that he saw a dead rat, Now we'll say, yuck, so it's a dead rat, So he took the dead rat, just held it, he said, well, something good will come from this. And then, true enough, there was a man who saw him holding a rat, and this man has a cat. And the man asked this young man, what are you doing with the rat? Don't you want to sell it to me? I will buy it from you to my cat. So he sold the rat, you see, and he got his first coin with the rat. And then he used that coin to buy something else, maybe some grass, and then he sold the grass to the cowherd, and so on. So he went on like that. From a dead rat, he built up his money. In the end, he became very rich. Now, that's a wonderful story about investment, right? So, effort, right? So there you are. He's creating good karma for himself to self-effort through diligence, industry, all right? The word diligence is very important in Buddhism, hard work. Yeah? Okay, so karma means causes and effect. As long as the conditions are not there, the bad karma will not ripen. That's why we don't want to create bad conditions. Bad conditions will attract a lot of bad karma. Okay? Imagine your karma are like seeds, black seeds, white seeds. Okay? And then all the seeds are in a big pot, right? Big bottle or big pot. When the conditions are certain kind of weather, certain kind of how much humidity, water, how much sunlight, different seeds will sprout. So we don't want the bad seeds to grow. We want the good seeds to grow. Right? So like when you're coming here, you learn sutta, you meditate, you are allowing the good seeds to grow. So there's something to do with karma. Okay, next one. The third power of the Buddha, section 12. Furthermore, Sariputta, the Tathagata understands, according to true reality, the ways leading to all destinies or goals. This refers to the kind of rebirth. So the Buddha can find out where this person is reborn, someone who has done something, where is reborn now, and so on. Okay, that's the meaning. And then the next one, 13, which is the fourth power of the Buddha. Furthermore, Sariputta, the Tathagata understands, according to true reality, the numerous and different elements and worlds. Okay, here refers to different kinds of existences. Okay? Different kinds of beings. That there are other kinds of beings besides human beings. There are other worlds besides our human world, besides Earth. The Buddha knows all this. Later on, we'll see some more examples to illustrate this point, number 3, okay? Number 4, rather. So, the word element also means something like existence, nature of existence. Next one, 14. This is the fifth power. Furthermore, Sariputta, the Tathagata understands, according to true reality, the various dispositions of beings. Disposition, that means character. Okay, some people easily get angry, some people believe easily, some people are strong. So the Buddha knows all this. He's a good character reader. So he's able to help people that way. He look at the person and see, okay, what kind of teaching is useful to this person. All right. So a good teacher also is able to know this, right? So this is good to know, have this kind of understanding. Nowadays we use psychology to read people's character and help them, right? So it's something like that. This is called dispositions of beings. Now, next one, the sixth quality, that's section 15. Furthermore, Sariputta, the Tathagata understands, according to true reality, the faculties here and beyond of other beings and other individuals. Here, let's see. These faculties means their abilities, okay? Whether they have faith or they have effort or energy, whether their minds are strong or not, something like that, okay? Previously, this position refer more to like outwardly, okay? Whereas faculty refer more to inwardly, like psychological, if you like. So basically, the Buddha is a good mind reader. He's able, so he uses this power to teach the right, effective Dhamma to others. Okay, now section 16. This is the seventh power of the Buddha. Furthermore, Sariputta, the Tathagata, understands, according to true reality, the defilement, the cleansing, and the emergence regarding the attainments, the liberations, the samadhis, and the dhyanas. Okay, this is about meditation. Here the Buddha is able to look at the monk or lay person and help this person to choose the right kind of meditation to overcome the mental defilements, the difficulties, the problems the person has, to attain really good and deep meditation. That's the meaning here. This is something not easy, okay? Because when someone has problem meditation, you got to know meditation yourself in order to help this person. So the Buddha was very good in this. Now, okay, next one is about rebirth, section 17. Furthermore, Sariputta, the Tathagata, recollects the manifold past lives. So he's able to collect one birth, previous life, and then two births, three births. Okay, now you see this typical Indian way of writing. They tell you increasing numbers. 3 births, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 10,000, 100,000. All right? Now we all read this, you say, oh, I know all these numbers. But imagine the Indian audience, they're listening. So when the Buddha say 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, to them, wow, this is really amazing, because they think these numbers are huge. We are talking about 2,500 years ago. People are not aware of such big numbers as we do today. So these numbers are very special to them. Right? So anyway, the Buddha is saying that he's able to look back to see many past lives. Even eons of cosmic expansions. You see after 100,000, many eons of cosmic contraction, many eons of cosmic expansion. Eon is a world cycle. What is a world cycle? According to the Buddha, our universe expands slowly, very slow, millions of years, and then it will stop. Okay? Now we are living in that kind of environment where the universe is stable, and the universe will collapse. Again, it takes a long time, and then it will, like big crunch. There's a big crunch, the opposite of Big Bang. There's no universe. All right? So you have this kind of universe. It's called a pulsating universe, billions and billions of years. So the Buddha says he's able to go back in his meditation. He can recall many lives, so many world expansion and contraction. In other words, many, many world cycles go back in time. Deep in meditation, he can do that. Here, in other words, the Buddha is aware that the universe is pulsating. Now, those days, they don't have this idea. As far as I know, no other religion talk of the universe in this way. In fact, today, if you read the science book, they describe the universe very similar to expanding universe, contracting universe. So this again is quite amazing how the Buddha knows all this, and is able to see what kind of life that this person had in the past and so on. Now, one thing you must understand, the Buddha is saying that you can only know this thing when you direct your mind and look for that kind of information. You don't have all the knowledge at the same time. Okay? Because some teachers claim, they can know everything at the same time. The Buddha said that's impossible. No such thing. You cannot know everything at the same time. But you can know anything that you want to know anytime. That is possible. So there you are, the Buddha is talking about what is possible, what is not possible. No? Number 9, section 18. The ninth power. Furthermore, Sariputta, by means of the divine eye, clairvoyance, purified and surpassing the human, the Tathagata sees beings passing away and reappearing. And he knows how they are inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, fortunate and unfortunate, faring according to their karma. Okay? So now the previous one, the Buddha knows his own life. Okay? He is able to see his own life, what he was in the past and so on. And with this ability to see his past life, he can tell you what he was in the past, what good he did, what bad he did. So from there you get all those Jataka stories and so on. Now in this power number 9 is a same ability, but it is about other people, about the other disciples and so on. So he can tell, for example, in the past, what you were, how you live and so on. Then this is where the Buddha says, in the past there are beings who suffer in hell in a very painful suffering state. Then there are beings who live very happily in the heavens. Okay, so this is just a summarize for you. No? Now the last one, number 10, that's section 19. This is the 10th power. Furthermore, Sariputta, by having realized for himself, by direct knowledge, that the Tathagata right here and now, notice, attains and dwells in the freedom of mind and the freedom by wisdom that are influx-free with the destruction of the mental influxes. Mental influxes refers to all the things that go into our mind and confuse us. Number 1 is sensual desire. We see this, we like, we hear that, we like, or we don't like, or we don't care, and we become ignorant. So these are the things that can confuse our mind. That's the number 1. He doesn't have that. Okay, and then existence, all this becoming that, you know? And then ignorance and wrong views. All these are gone. No more this kind of problems that make our mind confused. In other words, his mind is free, and wisdom. He has this wisdom that makes his mind very clear. No more suffering. This means he has become Buddha or become an Arhat, totally free from suffering. This is the 10th power, the last one, section 19. Eh? So this is the highest level, no more suffering. That's why we follow his teaching. So these are the 10 powers talking about himself. Okay? Then again, finally in section 21, next page. The Buddha is saying, please do not misrepresent him, because it means no harm to anyone. He teaches the truth. So anyone who has a bad heart tries to confuse others by saying things which the Buddha is not true of the Buddha. He says the karma will be very bad. You'll cause your own suffering by doing that. Okay. So that is the one part finished, the 10 powers of the Buddha. Now we come to the next section. This is a new section. Can you see the words, the Buddha's 4 intrepidities? Okay? Intrepidity is a very big word. It simply means courage. Courage, and especially moral courage. There are 4 things the Buddha, no one can say that the Buddha doesn't have it. 4 good things. Alright? The 4 good things that make the Buddha special. This is called the 4 intrepidities. What is the first one? Look at 23. Section 23. You can see brackets 1, right? Here I see no one on which any recluse or Brahmins or Deva or Mara or Brahma or anyone else in the world could with justice accuse me thus. While you claim to be fully awakened, you are not fully awakened about these things. All right? So the meaning is this: no one can challenge the Buddha and say, you are not awakened. Impossible, the Buddha said, because I'm fully awakened, nobody can challenge that. In fact, no one has proven that the Buddha is not awakened anyway for the last 2,500 years. So this is the first thing, that the Buddha is Buddha. You cannot say he's not Buddha, he's not awakened, not wise. Because from his teachings, you know the teachings really free our minds. Okay? Number 2, I only read to you the challenge, underlined words. While you claim to be fully awakened, you are not fully awakened about these things. I read that. Next one, number 2. While you claim to have destroyed the mental influxes, you have not really destroyed them. In other words, you are not pure. Okay? So the Buddha is an arahat. He has destroyed all the mental influxes. In fact, when people try to seduce him, they fail. Right? Remember Mara's daughters. The Mara failed for 7 years. Mara followed the Buddha, to see if the Buddha made any mistake at all, any bad things. Mara couldn't find any fault with the Buddha for 7 years, following him all the way. So on the 7th year, Mara gave up, very depressed. He said, no point. No way of distracting the Buddha. And the story goes, Mara has 3 daughters. Tanha, Rati, Raga. Okay? 3 beautiful daughters. So the daughters came to him and said, Father, why are you depressed? He said, this Buddha, impossible to distract, Then the daughter says, Father, don't worry. Men all have weak points for women. All right? So the 3 daughters say, we will tempt him. Okay? We will distract him. We will seduce him. So you see, like the Indian Hindi movie, so these 3 beautiful girls, very young and pretty, and they're all dancing. You can choose your own Indian music, And then so they danced under the tide. They said, no change, nothing happened. So they said, maybe this Buddha, he doesn't like us. Maybe he like older girls. So the story went that these 3 women, first looked very young girls and then mature girls, and then a married woman, and a woman with 1 daughter, one child, and then elder child. No change, not interested. Then they thought, maybe he like older women, so change to older women. And when they changed to really older women, the Buddha did something, The Buddha used his mind, zapped them, they cannot change back. They were all old women. Now this is a bit of Buddhist humor, you see. Buddhist humor. Whatever the story means, the story is telling us the Buddha's mind is so pure, it doesn't need all these things. So if you try to distract him, you're only creating a bad karma. So these poor, beautiful daughters will become old women. They say, no, look at us, we're so old, Please forgive us, And then they got back their own form, see. So stories like this tell us the Buddha's mind is pure. Whether the stories are not real stories like you and I are real here, but they have very deep meanings that no one can trouble the mind of the Buddha. Okay, that's the meaning. So the Buddha's mind is pure. He has destroyed all the defilements. Now, next one, section 25. This is the 3rd intrepidity. These things you call obstructions are unable to obstruct the spiritual progress of one who engages in them. Okay, you remember our last lesson? What sutta was that? The discourse on the parable of the... Oh wait, is it here? That was a different place, huh? Sorry. Oh, that's another house, huh? This house sutta study. We studied the parable of the water snake. All right. In that Alagadupama Sutta, there's someone there, a monk actually, has this wrong idea. He thinks that it's okay for monks to have sex. But the Buddha taught this many times, that this is an obstruction. This will destroy your monk life. So this monk has this wrong idea. He thinks it's not an obstruction. Okay, So the Buddha corrected this wrong view in that sutta. So here, this is the statement. Whatever is obstruction, when the Buddha says this will obstruct, this will prevent, this will stop your spiritual progress, it means that it's true. It is not false, right? So that's meaning of obstruction here. Certain things will not help you in your progress. Okay, this is very important to understand. And I think this is something the Singhalese monks of today should really read. They don't read much suttas, they don't keep to the Vinaya, so it's going to be a problem. In the West now, you find these Singhalese monks go around, they say it's okay now that we're in the West, it's okay to hug women. So this is modern already. And then later on, they took a picture of a monk kissing a woman. And then later on in Scotland, there was a monk who was caught molesting 3 women. And he's the top most important monk in the country. He's a Sangha chief high priest. And he was fined, he was given warning. They almost want to bring this matter up in Parliament to kind of make it a rule that he cannot approach any vulnerable women, like a child molester, register of child molesters. So you see, all these things are wrong, you see, which they don't read suttas, they don't understand that you must keep to the monk's rules, otherwise they will obstruct your spiritual life. This is called an obstruction. It will prevent you from becoming good, happy, a good monk, a good Buddhist. All right? So this is the meaning here, obstruction. Then the last one, number 4, 26, section 4. When he teaches the Dharma to someone for the sake of a spiritual goal, when he works on it, it would not lead him to complete ending of suffering. This is the Buddha's special ability. When he teaches you the Dharma, somehow you will benefit. Remember the story of this serial killer, Angulimala. He went around killing people. He just takes one finger on it from each person, and then he ties it around his neck like a garland. Very terrible, fierce serial killer. The Buddha managed to convert him. He actually was a very good person, but he became bad because of his old teacher. Okay? So the Buddha can change people, and the Dharma can change people. Of course, we are not Buddha, so sometimes when we teach Dharma, we don't see the effect immediately. But I believe that if you teach the Dharma, somehow, sooner or later, the effect will come. Maybe you don't see it right away, but one day this person will remember, say, okay, I remember this teaching, and then it will come back. Sometimes I meet my students, I teach many of the students when they were very young, in their 18, 19, early 20s, when they're in the university. And then after that, 20, 30 years pass, and then they are married and they are working. And then they come to me one day, by accident, they met me and they say, do you remember me? You taught me loving kindness, so I have been doing loving kindness every day, and I'm very happy. So I say, good for you. Say, don't thank me, thank the Buddha. Very often on Facebook, a lot of people write in and say, wow, I like this reflection you have written, or I like this answer you have given, thank you so much. I always say, please don't thank me. I'm only telling you what the Buddha has taught me. So we all should thank the Buddha for this, right? So this is the power of the Buddha. Imagine we're all sitting here today studying this text. Why? Because the Buddha taught us all these things. Okay? So this is the fourth interpretation of the Buddha, which cannot be made false. No? Then, now we come to a new section, the 8 companies. Section 29. Remember just now, earlier the Buddha said that he is like a lordly bull, a leader of assemblies, right? So these are the assemblies. there are 8 kinds of assemblies, 8 kinds of gatherings. Section 29. 29. Sariputta, there are these 8 companies. What are the 8? The company of Kshatriyas. These are the nobles, okay? If you like, these are like classes, okay? These are the ruling class. No? So in Singapore, you have all the politicians, the parliamentarians, and so on. And then number 2, the company of the Brahmins. These are the priestly class. Today, this will be the educational, scholarly class, if you like. Number 3, the company of house lords. These are those with land, property, okay? These are the rich guys. No? And then the company of recluses. These are the holy men, religious people. Okay, this 4 the human world. Then the next one is the heavenly world. The company of the 4 great kings. This is the lowest of the heavens. Okay? And then the company of the gods of the 33. Okay, so this is the next level. Now only these 2 heavens are mentioned. Notice the heaven of the 4 great kings, and then the heaven of the 33 gods. Because these 2, they are called earthbound heaven. They're very close to earth. No? In the CUG, the monkey story, you see a monkey going to this heaven and really causing havoc there. Okay, because it is very close to earth. So the Buddha is able to kind of go there and teach all these devas, the Dhamma. No? Number 7, the company of Mara. Here Mara also has got his gang, all the bad guys or the demons and so on. So sometimes the Buddha appears to Mara also, or Mara comes to the Buddha. And number 8 is the company of the Brahmas. These Brahma are the higher gods, the gods who have ability to meditate and so on. The Buddha also can appear to them to teach them. Now, so you have 2 sections here, okay? 1 to 4 are human world, and 5 to 8 are the heavenly world or non-human world. So, in other words, the Buddha is able to teach both groups of people. For this reason, the Buddha is called Sattha Deva Manusanang, right? The teachers of gods and humans. Now, what does this mean in our modern times? Now, for me, I'm a fan of all these, those Star Trek movies and so on. You see a lot of aliens, right? So imagine in the future world when we meet other aliens from other parts of the universe, what kind of religion will appeal to them? Imagine all these aliens come from a far quadrant of the universe, the Klingons and so on, they come. If you tell them about God and so on, they say, it's got no relation to us because these are all earth stories, you see. But if someone tells them everything is impermanent, there is suffering, they say, oh, that we know, right? So you find they can connect to Buddhism better. So if you bring all these aliens from other parts of the universe, they can relate to Buddhism better than any religion of the world. So in this sense, the Buddha is the teacher of gods and humans, both worlds. Okay? So it's as if the Buddha knew, in the future we'll have this connection or contacts with other worlds, if you like. All right? So all the next section, the Sutta simply elaborates saying how the Buddha appears before these 8 kinds of assemblies. The Sutta says, I think I'll read to you a bit so you have a better idea. Look at 30 brackets 1. Just this one will do, okay? 30 brackets 1. Sariputta, I recall having approached many hundreds of companies of the Kshatriyas. And when I was there, even sitting down, before conversing, before discussing, and before engaging with them, indeed, Sariputta, I see no ground whatsoever or any fear or timidity overcome me there. So he's very brave, very calm. Okay? Imagine if you are invited to go to our parliament today and give a talk. Would you be able to do that? It's not easy. You'll be quite terrified. Say, all these politicians of the country, the most powerful people are there, and you're supposed to give a talk, right? Some of us can be quite nervous, okay? So, but not the Buddha. He's very calm. He just, okay, these are just people. Yeah, so one thing good is that I never had that fear. I remember even when I was in secondary school, I would stand before the crowd and just talk to them. Debate, I love debating. So I tell myself, these are just people, right? So when people are very scared, I tell them, okay, imagine they're all people. You're standing before them, they're all people you know. And if you're still afraid, then you look at your friend in front. Ask your friend to sit in front. You look at your friend and you talk. Then you won't be afraid, right? But the Buddha has no fear. He looks at everyone when he talks. You notice some speakers are very shy. They'll look down and start talking, You think they're talking to themselves, But here, the Buddha looks at everyone when he talks. Everyone thinks that the Buddha is talking to him alone. This is very interesting. And that's not all, When the Buddha appears, there are people, all these beings think that the Buddha is one of them. So they accept the Buddha as one of them. And when the Buddha leaves, they say, oh, who is that, We know him and yet we do not know him, right? So the Buddha is like that. He's able to fit in any kind of society and give them Dhamma talk, nothing else, not to socialize, but to teach Dhamma. So up to this point, you can see the Buddha is talking about his various abilities, social abilities especially. Now the Buddha goes on to talk about rebirth. Section 32. Just look at those words, the 4 kinds of birth. 4 ways that beings can come into life. How are we born into this world? 4 ways. Section 32. Sariputta, there are these 4 kinds of birth or yoni. What are the 4? Number 1, you have what are called egg-born birth, oviparous. Number 2, womb-born, viviparous. Number 3, moisture-born. Number 4, the spontaneous birth. Okay? Now, this is not a scientific categorization of birth. Okay, here the Buddha is saying he sees these 4 kinds of birth. The first kind of birth are beings born from eggs, like birds, snakes. Womb-born are, of course, humans, like humans, and many animals. Moisture-born refer to the life that are born in rubbish and dirt, like worms and so on. Okay. Now the last one refers to the devas. This one, because they don't have body like ours, so they arise just like that. This is called spontaneous birth. Okay. So the Buddha knows all this. So the definition is given to you, section 33. Okay. Number 1, I'm reading 33, 1. And what Sariputta is the egg-born birth. There are, Sariputta, those beings born by breaking out of the eggshell. Okay? So this is called the egg-born. Number 2, and what, Sariputta, is the womb-born birth. There are, Sariputta, those beings born by breaking out of the caul. The caul here refers to the, what is it called? A placenta, is it? The stomach, what is it called? Is it? Something like, you know what I mean, right? The skin around the baby. So the baby breaks through and then is born. You say break water or something like that, right? That's the caul, say well, okay? A skin around the baby. I mean, it's amazing. They know all this thing 2,500 years ago, right? So they have observed all these things. And then number 4, and what, Sariputta, is spontaneous birth. There are gods, hell beings, certain humans, and some beings in the lower worlds. so they arise spontaneously. All right. Of course, this is an ancient Indian belief, not exactly scientific, but basically the Buddha is saying he has seen this kind of birth, right? 4 kinds. The idea of telling this to us is that the Buddha is aware this is how beings take various forms of life, right? Remember, it's not meant to be a scientific theory here, so don't worry if it's not too exact. It's quite close by modern standards. You know? Of course, there are some things we still don't understand here. These are kind of, it could have happened in the Buddha's time, or maybe you need special powers to understand what really is meant, like spontaneous human beings born in a spontaneous way. There are stories, for example, Ambapali was not born in a human way, viviparously. She was born spontaneously. So there are stories like that. Of course, as Buddhists, we don't have to totally accept whether these are true or false. We just take them as stories. And they don't really feature in our meditation. We don't have to think about them to the effect of meditation. We are allowed that. You know? Okay, now let's do a bit more, and it looks like we will have to stop for today. No, I don't think we can finish everything. All right, next are the 5 destinies and nirvana in brief. Now the Buddha goes on a bit more broad scale. The 5 kinds of existences plus nirvana. So section 35, 3.5. Sariputta, there are these 5 destinies or gati. What are the 5? Number 1 is the hell state, suffering state. Number 2, animal womb. Number 3, the realm of the departed, or pretas. But in China, this became the earthquake, the hungry ghosts, okay? But the original one is simply realm of the departed, the pretas. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, these are all suffering states. Number 4, humans. Humans, both suffering and happiness, they're combined. And then number 5, the gods. Only happiness, okay? Of course, under the heading the gods, you have many other groups. All right. Now then, there's a bit of explanation. 36. 1. And Sariputta, I understand hell and the path and the way leading to hell. And I also understand how one with the body's breaking up after death has entered the path and will reappear in the state of misery, a bad destination, in a suffering state in hell. So this is the same for all the other 4. No? So here the Buddha says that he knows what happens to a person who does a lot of bad deeds, and then he'll be reborn in a hell state. So now, if you look at the first 3, hell state, animal state, hungry ghost state, right? Sometimes asura state also is added. There is another sutta called the 5 destinies, and these 5 are mentioned. Right? If you find it difficult to imagine that there are such places, you can understand this as happening right now in this life itself. That we are not humans yet. Although we have a human body, but our mind is not human yet. Our mind can go down into any of the subhuman states. Our mind can go down to the hell being level. In other words, body human, but mind is that of hell being. This kind of person is very violent. He goes around shooting people. Imagine someone takes a gun and he goes into the school and starts shooting at everyone. Is that a human? The human mind is gone. Because they're so angry, they're so frustrated. They kill even their own friends, their own people they know, right? Or others, they bomb, they put a bomb in an aeroplane, or they fly the aeroplane and goes into this big building. What kind of people are those? They're very violent. Okay? So these are the hell beings in this life itself. Okay? Hell being state. All right? And then over the animals. Animals have a lot of fear. Right? Animals, they are very predictable. They can learn, yes, but that's all they know. All right? So they're very fixed in their ways and ideas. So if we only live to eat and then make money and then eat and then that's all, we don't want to train our mind, we don't want to make people happy, in other words, be really human, then we end up as animals also. Right? So it's very, very dangerous here. We should live a full life, in other words. Okay? Human life. Human means you have love, you kindness, charity, like that. You have good human qualities. Yeah? Then you have the pretas, the hungry ghosts. These are people who are never happy. No matter what they have, how much they have, they're never happy. Okay? Even though they're married, they still go around, disturbing other people's wives, women, or they keep on making money until they are not, although they have a lot of money, they're still not happy, for example. Or they hurt other people, right, by taking away their money and so on. So you find in the corporate world, sometimes you have this kind of situation where people are never satisfied, they're never happy. That's called hungry ghost mentality also. Right? So these are basically warnings the Buddha gave us, how to lead a high quality life. How really to be happy? It's not only what you have, but also what you are. What you are meaning you use wisely. So remember, the Buddha said the first happiness is to make money. Work hard, make money, and you're very happy. You say, wow, I work hard, see, I have this profit. That's the first happiness, the Buddha says. Second happiness is the happiness of using this money. You use this money, you buy food, you buy clothing, you buy a car, you buy a home, you give to your family, and you're very happy. That's called the joy of using your wealth. Right? So it should be used. That's number 2. No? Then the third blessing is blamelessness. No one blames you. Okay? But this is difficult. No? All right? So what's number 3? Deathlessness. Oh yes. Yeah, there's one more. Deathlessness. You don't owe people, especially the bank, money. This is a bit difficult, especially in Singapore. So the idea here is to cut down your debts. Cut down your debts as much as possible. Okay? So that's the third blessing, to be debt-free. Imagine you don't owe anyone anything, you're very happy, right? So cut down, in other words. And the fourth one is to be totally free of blame. No one can find fault with you. So those are the 4 kinds of happiness. Okay, so there's one more, this subhuman world, the asuras, not mentioned here. Asuras are very fierce demons. These are people, when they look at you, they don't see you as a human. They first ask you, what is your qualification? What can you do for me? Okay, they don't care who you are. They say, what can you do for me? Now, sometimes I ask that, especially I don't like asking for donation. So if I go to a rich man, ask for donation, he says, what can you do for me? I say, huh? I say, okay, thank you, I don't need your money. Because when you do Dharma work, people give out of faith. If they ask me, what can I do for them? I say, I don't know, nothing actually. All I do is sutta work and I teach Dharma, see? So this kind of people, they look at you, they say, when you work for me, you don't get sick, you don't fall sick, no leave. That kind of boss, okay? That's called asura. Because you are just a worker and you cannot have any kind of other, what they call holidays or whatever. So this is not a very good boss, okay? This is called asura. They exploit others, they use people. This is not good. This is extreme, right? So asura are the fierce demons. They will do anything to cheat, to get their way, basically. There are people like this. So you find that they're not happy. They cannot relate to anyone. Recently, only these few days, there was a story in a newspaper. This is a helicopter mother, okay? the mother wants the son, you better get into a good university, otherwise no face, shame on you. You know, our relatives will look down on us, people look down on us. This is what she's worried about, face. Nice house, nice car, son must go to university, but the son didn't get enough credits. He got something like 1.7, you know. So he couldn't get in, so he falsified his credentials. He put 2. He somehow did it, but didn't do well. Didn't do it properly, he got caught. And he got himself into serious trouble with the police. So now the judge ordered that both mother and child has to go for counseling. So this is an example of a asura mother, which is not good, all right? So be very careful about all these things. So here the Buddha is telling us, be human. Humans mean you make mistakes. That's why there are precepts. It's okay to make mistakes, but you must learn from the mistakes. Then calm your mind, train your mind. That's how you are truly happy. Then you are able to really control yourself. You understand yourself, you know yourself, then you are truly free. Okay, I think it's just nice to stop here for today. And then we finish off with the last part, next lesson. Any feedback or questions?
Aliens were to come to Earth, they probably will find Buddhism is the religion
that suits them.
Suitable, just like Einstein also has it.
Yeah, I have to restrict myself. I would say early Buddhism, not other religious forms of Buddhism. Religious form will be quite tricky because it's very earthbound. See? Yeah.
I've heard people suggesting that Buddha was an alien himself.
There are lots of stories. I mean, especially these scholars, they want to earn credits and mileage, so you have to come up with a new theory. So someone said Buddha was from Africa. Wow, that was a really fantastic one, and so on. So I think it's enough to say Buddha was human. That's good enough. Where he comes from doesn't really matter. I mean, if he's really alien also, it's no problem. It doesn't change his teachings. So anyway, the idea that Buddhism deals with the mind, the basic idea in Buddhism is impermanence. This is what I think makes it very universal. Okay? Any other questions or feedback? So, by way of summary, you notice in this sutta, we have an overview of the Buddha's powers and abilities. We may not have all these powers, but this shows how the mind can be very strong and powerful. And it almost like a bit of futuristic idea of Buddhism. Okay? That Buddhism doesn't just talk about this earth, but talk about life in general, in other words. Okay, no more questions, huh? Okay, let us close here and here. Is this our last lesson of the year?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So next time we meet, it'll be 2020 already. It's amazing. Okay, so let us reflect on this last lesson of the year. How many years we have gathered together. This wonderful good karma we've created for ourselves. It's not easy to gather like this in a place, quiet, peaceful, to study what we want to study, to hear sensible things, teachings which are authentic. And these are things which will build us up as truly good humans, thinking people who are able to understand the self, to grow and be free. So this is what we've been doing through our hard work, our dedication, and our faith in the Buddha's teaching, that we can dedicate some time and resources to spend time with the Buddha's teaching. By this wonderful good karma, may we be well, may we be happy, May our minds be calm and clear at all times. May our relatives and our friends, people we know too, be well and happy. May those who are struggling to practice the Buddha Dharma quickly experience the true teaching and gain liberation in this life itself. Even those who are lost and having difficulties too, may they find the right way in the Buddha's teaching in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.